Good morning, commuters. Welcome. My name is Matt Malone. This is the Malone's Commute podcast. Ford Escape, 84,826 miles. Wow, I actually kind of look like I do on the thumbnail. Okay, so you've seen the title of the video. We're going to talk about iRacing, the 24 hours of Spa, the incident limit, the no incident limit. So I was able to catch. I didn't partake in the 24 hours of Spa, but I have taken part in other endurance races that iRacing does. And I saw a write-up from Stephen Bailey. So I read his thoughts on the issue. I kind of kept track of what was going on, mostly for the weekend, watching Jimmy and watching some of the other Grip TV guys. I heard Sean Cole's take on it, and everyone's got some really good points. I just wanted to weigh in on it. It's been an issue for quite a while, actually, and I think the major issue, so if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, iRacing was going to have an incident limit for the 24 hours of Spa, and there was two races that went on, and the first race, the first 24-hour time slot that went off was a 44 incident limit. That's right, 44 incidents for a 24-hour race. That's ridiculous. So something must have screwed up there. And then the second one, they were going to do, oh no, now I can't remember. Was it 300 or 400 incident limit? I think it was 300. Well, no, they tried to do the 300 incident limit for the first one, but something went wrong with the data or the server, the way that it's all set up, and it defaulted to 44. So then they're like, well, we can't have that. So they just took it away. They defaulted back to their original stance of no incidents for the second, the main event, the main 24-hour race where all the big teams would sign up and it's broadcasted and all that stuff. So you had the big main event at no incident limit, meaning you could rack up as many incident points as you want with no consequence, except for, lowering your safety rating, your license class, which some people don't care about. So, and this has always really been an issue with iRacing. It's a fundamental issue with the way that their program and the way that the simulator is constructed code-wise on the back end. It's built on an old technology, apparently, because anything that you want them to change or update or do this or that, it's hard for them to do because they've built this skyscraper on top of a wooden hut, right? They started with like a wooden hut of an infrastructure, of a foundation, and now they're trying to do all this other stuff on top of it, and it's just really, really difficult because as soon as you want to do something up here, it affects something at the fundamental level. And I think that's been a major issue with iRacing for years now. It's like, well, we can't do this because it'll screw up that, and we can't do that because it'll screw up this, and it's because of our underlying code that it doesn't really allow for it. So we'd have to do like systematic structural changes to be able to implement this or that, the other thing. There's always limitations for whatever they're trying to do. And I get the frustration, both from, just people I've heard talking about it, to Stephen Bailey, to Sean Cole. I get the frustration. It is very frustrating because, like what Sean was saying, you're practicing weeks in advance for a situation, a scenario, a race in which you're going to be limited to the amount of incidents you can get. So your race lines, right, the way that you practice is the way that you would race the race. So you're trying to keep it on track. You're trying not to get too many incidents. You're trying not to run wide at certain places at Spa, which is very easy. If anybody has ever gone 2 laps at Spa would understand that there's a lot of runoff areas, and it's you're not really sure where the off track is initiated on some of the runoff areas. There's no slowdowns for going wide on exit on most of those corners, right? So leading up to the race, you have a certain mindset, and your mindset for especially a 24-hour race is one of the most important things. You can put in all the practice that you want, but if your mindset is off, is wrong, maybe you're just really excited and you really want to go fast, you're going to cause a wreck. Your mindset has to be 24 hours and to keep it on track and to just get into your rhythm and to implement all the things that you've learned, all the instincts you've learned through the practice. So if you're practicing in such a way where you're keeping it on track and you're limiting the incidents, and then the race starts and you find out there's no incident limit and people are running a completely different racing line than you because they don't care about the incident limit, and they'll just rack up, there's people that had well over 1,000 incident points to themselves in a 24-hour race. Now, you're not racing the full 24 hours, so you figure maybe you're racing, I don't know, at the most, maybe like 10 of those hours, and you're getting 1,000 incidents. It's like 3 or 4 incidents per lap some of these guys were doing. Just because, well, they figured there's no incident limit, so I'm just going to abuse it, right? Which I fall kind of on either side of this. To me, it's like, okay, what do they allow? What are the consequences? I'm going to push it to that limit, right? As a video gamer, you're looking for any type of advantage, right? But the problem that I have with it is that this was like a last minute change, right? Once they screwed up on the incident limit for the first time slot, then they changed it for the second time slot. So there's only like, we're talking hours before the race in which this was implemented. It went from there's an incident limit. That's everyone's mindset going into it. We got to be careful out there, guys. There's an incident limit. To hours before the race, oh, there's no incident limit. It's like that's what I don't like. And according to Stephen Bailey, iRacing was not very forthcoming on social media about the issues that were going on. And nobody, most people probably didn't find out that there was no incident limit for that second time slot until they joined the actual race, right? I mean, that's what I have a problem with, the communication. And iRacing's been trying to do a better job with communicating to the members about things going on in real time, like, hey, this update is this, or hey, just as an FYI, guys, But apparently there was only like 2 messages on Twitter about the issue. So I think, if you're gonna mess up, I've learned growing up and doing things. If you're gonna screw up, just let people know, like, hey guys, I screwed up. Like, it was me. Like, over here, it was me. I screwed up, guys. Like, just come out with it. People can't fault you too much for that kind of thing. Be like, what? You don't think people are gonna figure it out? Like, if you screw something up and you try to hide it, it's only gonna be worse, right? Now, I'm not saying iRacing was trying to hide the fact that they screwed up. I just think that they were probably working on it and they didn't realize that, hey, maybe we should let everyone know. Or maybe they did. I don't know. What the hell do I know? But, I understand people's frustration. If, and I know that Sean was talking about, these guys are cheating and it's ridiculous, and, people racking up thousands of incident points, and it's like, yeah, I understand that, because, like, whenever I'm doing an endurance race, I think of it as like a safety rating boosting lobby where I can run 4, 5, 6, 7 hours, not in a row, but, run 3 different stints, and, I really concentrate on limiting my incident points, so I can get a really good safety rating boost, right? and get to that A 4.99. But places at Spa, well, I also do that because if you're going to do an endurance race and you're not getting incident points, that means you're keeping it on track, you got a good rhythm going, and you're not risking the car. You know, because if you're always going off track, it means you're running wide, could get you into a slippery situation. You could go headlong into a ditch somewhere or right into a wall or kick flip it, right? So I've been there, done that. So my mindset is always, hey, limit your incident points, run consistent laps. You're going to be safe. Keeping the car clean is number one. Number one advice I give to people for endurance races is this. And this if you only spend the required time in the pits, you will do well. Meaning, if you're only going into the pits for fuel and tires, you're going to do extremely well in an endurance event. That's it. That's all you got to do. Now, there's a lot to do that encapsulates a lot, but anyway. So, yeah, I mean, some people just don't take their safety rating seriously like other people. So to have no incident limit, is there any consequences of getting 1,000 incidents? Well, yeah, you lower your license class, but some people don't care about that as much as others. So that's where I don't like that. I don't like the notion that there's not going to be an incident limit. I'm just speaking in general now. You know, certain tracks, it doesn't really matter. Like, they could have a no incident limit. People aren't going to be racking up the incident points because there's really just no way to do it on certain tracks. And if you are going to be getting a bunch of incident limits, it's because you're screwing up and going off track and you're going to be losing time because of it. So really, Spa is kind of an outlier when it comes to this. For the most part, you know, certain tracks like Le Mans, if you go wide on some of those corner exits, you get a slowdown. And based on a tweet that I saw from iRacing, I guess they are going to look into that for implementing some of that for Spa. I mean, Spa needs some sort of a off-track overhaul. It needs to implement slowdowns. Something's got to be done, right? I think we can all agree that something's got to be done. I don't know. There's a lot of different things you could do. You know, put in some cones on some areas, and if you go over the cones, you get a slowdown. You know, you got to make it. You can't. That's one thing I don't really like about Le Mans either, is that you can go wide on a corner, put two tires wide, and you'll be fine. And if you go just a little bit further over, then you get a slowdown. But there's no telling where that line is, right? It's just kind of not random, but it's just kind of like, you come out of a corner and you might have gone a little wide. I've done this 1,000 times. You come out of a corner, you went a little bit wide, and you're just like, and you just keep going, be like, where's the slowdown? Because it always takes a second for the slowdown to kick in. You're like, okay, I guess we got away with it that time. It's like, okay, well, I don't know where that actual line is, right? So if there's a set of cones, or they can get the really tall, narrow cones that they have on some tracks, and just put those somewhere. I don't know. There's a million different ways they could do it. But something's got to be done so that the racer knows where that line is. Because as we're practicing and we're running lines and we're really pushing, we need to know where the line is, right? You know, that's why I love about Bathurst. You know exactly where that line is at Bathurst because there's a wall. And if you cross the line, you hit the wall, and that is a consequence of, you know, going past the track limits or cheating or whatever, right? So there's something there, a physical barrier that's going to stop you from running wide on a corner. Now, I know not every place is like Bathurst and you can't put walls up everywhere. I understand that. But there's got to be something done to where either they paint a new line, right? Just paint some new lines on it. Well, that's not simulated. Well, most of these tracks, they laser scan, and then a week later they repave a whole corner or something. So, you know, come on. You know, it's at the end of the day, it is a video game in the simulator genre, okay? So something's got to be done. There's a lot of different things that they cut corners with because it's a simulator that it's not, in real life. Like, come on, guys. So I don't know if they want to implement a new painted line somewhere. So if you go over the line, any part of your car goes over the line, then that's a slowdown or something. I know they're going to revamp it. I'm sure, what they should do is take, ask the members, like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Let's get the iRacing community involved in some of this decision making, right? Let's get the people that race consistent endurance races to kind of weigh in on the issue and get people's opinion before they just arbitrarily say, okay, this corner is here, this corner is there, there's a slowdown here, there's a slowdown there. All right, we fixed it. And then, people are going to bitch and moan no matter what you do. But at least if they try to take the community's opinions on it, I think that's going to help them in the end. Ooh, that's hot coffee. But regardless, something's got to be done. Something has to be done with the underlying code that, like, I'm not a techie guy, so I don't know what kind of jargon to use, but it seems like the skeleton in which iRacing is built on is decrepit as arthriocytis. No, that's not it. What's the thing where your bones get all brittle? Oh my, osteoporosis. Oh my gosh. I have to pull over, I'm laughing, so no. Osteoporosis. The skeleton of iRacing has osteoporosis. It's got fragile bones. It's got hollow bones. No, so eventually, if your game is 10 plus years old, I mean, this is just what happens. And I can't imagine the resources involved and the time involved and the money involved that what it would take to kind of build like a new skeleton for iRacing. I always heard that iRacing 2.0 was being built in parallel, but I don't know if they were talking about the new UI system, because that's kind of failed. That's been years, right? I don't know anybody that uses it. I don't know if that's what they're talking about, but that really doesn't affect their fundamental coding of the simulator. So I don't know if they need like a new engine. I don't know what. But I know what the problem is that is the old code that everything is built on, to where now they can't make a simple change in something because it'll affect everything else, and it's like a house of cards. It's like a domino effect where you want to change one little thing and everything else blows up. Because what you need to get to a certain point where your options are open. Say, hey, you want an incident limit here, you want an incident limit there, you don't want no incident limit, you want I've heard people talk about this. Every 20 incident points you get, you got to come in for a stop and go, right? How do they implement that? They probably can't, right? It would take a total revamp of the entire system to be able to get something like that. What about stop and goes? What about a drive-through penalty? There's no such thing in iRacing of a drive-through penalty, right? Where you just pull into the pits, you go the pit speed limit all the way through, you don't stop at your box, and you just keep on going. What about implementing that? We need options, right? For these big events. Big events are much different. This is on a whole different category than just your run-of-the-mill Mazda race or something, right? So it'd be nice and I'm sure they would want this too, to have these options open up to them to where they can implement anything. Like for instance, like the green, white, checkered flag in oval racing. That was like, I don't know how long it took them to implement something like that, but that was something they implemented, and that's cool, right? That changes the total amount of laps ran in an oval race. It changes a lot of different things, like. So they did something like that. How are they going to get to the point where making a change is easy? Because I'm sure they're probably frustrated about like certain things, like, oh gosh, if we want an extra car slot in a server. Oh man, we got to revamp the whole thing, and then they create more bugs by adding one feature creates 10 bugs, right? So then they got to fix all of those, and I think that's the major thing is, and I know Sean was talking about competition and simulators, and that's true. iRacing has kind of they've had the, how do I put this? iRacing just kind of chilling in its own little subgenre of subgenres, right? They don't have anybody. There's no competition for iRacing. For what iRacing does as a service, what they do as a simulator, there's no competition for it. Everyone else is in the simcade market, right? And when you talk about Project Cars and F1 2019 and ASETEK Corsa, R Factor 2, I mean, none of it's actually sanctioned racing. So the problem with iRacing, they've just kind of in their own little echo chamber. And what would be great, and I've talked about this for years, that's why I was so excited about ACC. It's okay, here we go. We got this new simulator coming. It's going to be sanctioned GT3 racing and safety rating and all that stuff, and license programs and skill levels and proper matchmaking. I'm okay, here we go. We're going to have this new contender into the genre that's going to really put iRacing on their heels. And when I say competition is good for iRacing, that's kind of twofold. Is what competition does is it makes you raise your game all by yourself, but what it also does is that, let's say there's a new iRacing. Let's call it U-Racing. So when U-Racing comes out and everyone signs up, maybe they're doing something just a little bit different over here. Maybe they're doing, maybe the license class is just a little bit different. Maybe the way the incident limits and drive-through penalties and slowdowns is a little bit different. Maybe the way that you register for races is a little bit different. Maybe the UI is different. Maybe, there's little things that a new company would do that are going to be different than iRacing, obviously. So then you wouldn't steal it, but you'd be oh, dang, look at what they're doing. Maybe we'll try to implement our little version of something like that, right? So it makes you up your game, but it also, you can see what people like. Be man, people really seem to like this that U-Racing did. Maybe we'll try to implement something like that. And I've seen that in the first-person shooter genre battles, right? You got the Fortnites, you got the CODs, you got the Apex Legends, and Apex Legends is a great example of taking a battle royale first-person shooter game like PUBG and stuff, and just making it. They took all the good aspects of battle royale games and they put it all in one game, where it was very enjoyable. I don't know what people think about Apex Legends now. I thought it was a great game when it first came out. I haven't played it in months and months and months, but I just thought they polished a lot of things that were wrong with PUBG and Blackout and stuff. So the more games you have under the same genre, the more people are going to be going to kind of cherry pick what they like about it, and you'll be able to implement that into your game. I don't know. Just kind of rambling at this point. But there is a problem with iRacing and their endurance. It used to be the big thing about, well, the server couldn't even handle, getting all these people to sign up. And for the most part, from what I've seen in the last year, 2 years or so, is that they've been able to handle the load of these endurance races, which is great. We are seeing improvement. This isn't an iRacing bashing video. I'm just trying to give my take on what's going on, and what I think the issues are. And I'm not here to really give any solutions, but but I think there are some things. Well, look, here's a couple solutions, and I've had these thoughts for a while now is that the way you sign up for a big endurance race, I think needs to be changed. You need to have people sign up at least a week before the actual event with their team involved, right? So let's say you got a team. You know, maybe it's you, Dingleberry, John, and your mother-in-law, right? And you want to do a race. So you all get on a team, right? You call your team team win race. I'm going to win the race team, okay? And you're on a team, and then you register for the race. And then at the time of the race, once the race goes off, it takes an average of your iRating, and then it puts you into that split. Instead of having one ringer sign up for the race so you make sure you get in the top split, or sometimes people, I don't know why people do this, but they'll have their lowest iRating guy sign up for the race. So then they get into the lowest split possible, so then they can dominate, right? I don't know why people do that. It's really dumb. I always thought, you know, the way I do it is that we always have the highest iRating guy sign up to where we can get into the highest split possible, right? Just to see how you stack up against the best competition. Oh, it's good sun right there. It's good sun. Or it would be nice. You could do it a couple different ways. You could have a team and then have qualifying, a full week of qualifying just with default weather, right? Default weather qualifying, and just base the splits on qualifying. Or you get your teams registered, and then everyone has to run qualifying laps, and you can run them all week as many times as you want, right? Just qualifying all week long. But every single member of your team has to put in a time, right? And then when you register, when the race finally kicks off, it takes an average of your qualifying times and puts you in the proper split. So there's a couple different ways. Any three of those options I would probably be fine with. But number one, my favorite would be just the average of iRating. And people say, well, your iRating is not really true to, iRating isn't a true measure of how you stack up against competition in most races, but it's the best thing we got. I do like the for big races like this, a qualifying time to put you in a split would be great, but then people would bitch about like, well, what's the point of having iRating if you're just going to base it on time? It's like, well, yeah, okay, you got me there, So there's some leeway there, different ways of doing things. So let me know in the comments how you guys would like to see it. But whenever I raise any of these options, I'm always thinking, well, they can't do that. That would break the entire freaking simulator if they tried to implement something like that, I can just imagine the race wouldn't start, or people wouldn't be able to get in the race, or, so any change that you make, you risk breaking the entire system. That's what it seems like, right? So I don't know. I do enjoy watching these big events on Twitch and YouTube. Always perusing around, seeing how people are doing. Great to see Max and Lando win top split. What'd they have? It was like 6,000 incidents? No. Just kidding. But there's a team that, first of all, I'm not gonna listen. If I was in top split and there was no incident limit, I would definitely do everything I could to go as fast as I could for as long as I could. Okay? Which means changing my racing line to get as quick lap times as possible. Screw the incident limit. You're not giving me an incident limit? I'm just going to abuse track limits the entire race. If I was in top split and I had a chance at a pretty good spot, So I don't fault anybody in any situation for taking advantage of the no incident limit. I really don't. I don't think it's cheating because it's allowed. You've taken the consequences, right? The consequence to racking up a bunch of incident points is that you lose like your A license, B license. Hell, you could go down to D class if you racked up enough of them, right? Okay, big deal. Give me my fine, right? Be like, I've broken the law. What's the fine? A slap on the wrist? Okay, I'll take it. You're weighing the risks versus benefits versus the it's a risk analysis. And, if there's not a good reason not to, then you're going to do it. So I don't fault really anybody. Technically, is it cheating? I don't know. I mean, cheat? Nah. I don't think it's cheating. I think it's adapting to the situation. I think it's being opportunistic. And I just think that, me personally, it would all depend on the situation. If I was in fifth split and, I was the number 30 car and I started 20th, like, I'm probably not going to run up that many incident points, right? Just because I care too much about my safety rating. But man, if I was top split and I was 20th car and I was starting 5th and there was a real good chance that I had pace with everybody around me and I could, get a podium or get a chance to win it, you bet your ass I'm going to be taking every single off track to try to go as fast as possible every single lap. Because at the end of the day, winning is the most important thing. Winning is more important than some stupid A-class license, which you can get back like pretty quick, Maybe that's another thing they need to change is, make it harder for people to obtain an A license and keep an A license, right? There's a lot of discussion about that. I'm not going to get into that, but, so, hey, congrats to Lando and Max and the other guys on the team for winning. That's really good for sim racing. It really is. That we as an iRacer, I really like to see, real life racers, participate and engage in our little community and win these top spots. Those guys are on a whole nother level, man. It's pretty awesome to see. But yeah, and congrats to Jimmy. He got 3rd in his split, and really awesome stuff, man. I really need to start taking part in these big races more often because they are so much fun. Every time I do an endurance race, kind of going into it, I'm like, whatever. I'm just going to drive around for 2-3 hours and, people seem to like it. I'm like, okay, it's something to do. Hang out with your teammates, talk to them. But then, once the race starts and we get into it, it's a lot of fun, man. I'm telling you. Something about these endurance races, it is a lot of fun. So I really need to make a point to race more of them. So anyway, but I guess we've gone over 30 minutes. So let me know what you guys think. I don't know if I solved any problems here, but I guess bottom line is what I'm saying is that iRacing really needs to look at their fundamental code and how they've structured everything. And really, maybe there needs to be an iRacing 2.0 that's being built that can allow for, options and changes and, be more flexible. They need a more flexible code to be able to implement things on the fly to do this. But overall, for now, communication is really important. If they're having issues and people need to be updated, start spamming Twitter. It's fine. Admitting fault is one thing, but just kind of keeping us up to date. We appreciate that as paying customers. Keep us up to date on what's going on. Don't just kind of hide and try to fix it. Don't tell me you're working so hard where you can't send out a tweet, right? That's just not acceptable. It's in today's day and age, it takes like 3 minutes at the most. 3 minutes. That's like an old man. That's like me making a Twitter post. Takes me 3 full minutes now. So yeah, there's really no excuse on to keep us updated on what's going on. Something as simple as like, hey, there's an issue, we're looking into it, it's an ongoing process, we'll keep you updated. You know, maybe 10 minutes later, be like, okay, there was an issue with this, you know, it's an ongoing issue, we'll keep you updated. That's it, just keep us updated. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you have any comments or anything, put them down below on how to fix everything. Start a dialogue down below. If you liked it, hit the like button, subscribe. Today's Tuesday. I'm going to try to stream this week at some point. Just been working a lot of hours. I haven't been getting home till late, so we'll see. Maybe it's one of those days where I get off at a normal time. But enjoy that weather if you're in the Midwest. Man, it is absolutely beautiful after a scorcher from last week. Scorcher, I tell you, it was a scorcher. And a couple of the last videos on my YouTube channel, if you're taking a look at this video and you're like, man, is Malone raced at all? I did. 2 races that were up over the weekend, an IMSA race and a NASCAR race. The NASCAR race was kind of funny. But yeah, check them out, guys. That IMSA race was a lot of fun, too. It was at Spa. If you want to see some of the track limit issues that they have, take a look at that video. I got a couple of them. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And enjoy your day. Be safe out there, commuters. And we'll see you on the next one. I know I haven't done these podcasts every single day, which is fine by me. But I really needed to weigh in on the incident limit and stuff like that. So, yeah. So have a great day, guys, and we'll see you next time.